I'm going to close out day one, game one of my little 4-player commander deck building challenge with some solitaire play. I have tried to play real people with these fun casual decks. It has not worked. I put some videos on the channel. I had to take them down. They were so bad. They were terrible, horrible punching bag games. And so what I did do is I came across TappedOut. Of course, I see a lot of people using this website, TappedOut, for their decks. And some people have suggested to me when I post to Reddit that I do that. And I did, and boy, was it easy. Now, if anybody is watching this video and you don't know how to do the TappedOut thing, write me a little comment in the video, and maybe I'll give you an explanation in the comments. But basically, if you have Magic Online and you export decks out of Magic Online, that format is also the format that you can cut and paste into TappedOut. The only thing that happens that is tricky is the double cards, not the flip cards, but the cards that are half and half, like the fused cards from Dragon's Maze, or the double instants and sorceries from Hour of Devastation and Amonkhet. Those are like, gone for good, or whatever they're called. They have a slash. You got to put spaces between the two words and do double slashes, and then the TappedOut works out just fine. If you got any problems, put it in the comments and I'll answer you. So the whole game one, day one selection for all 4 players combined as singles is a cube now on TappedOut, and I put it up there. And so you can see the web link, and there's an example of a sealed selection right in the middle of that black area with a list of cards. That's a sealed selection. And then on the right, that's a sample pack. So that's pretty cool. I love TappedOut. I've also put in all my Commander and Brawl M19 decks that I just built that I'm going to be playing between now and when I come back from my road trip. That's coming up soon. So again, day one, game one, Isperia, Jarad, Niv-Mizzet, Borbo, each player, left to right, player 1, 2, 3, 4. The Isperia deck is lame as could be. It doesn't get any better. I'm just going to learn to live with the fact that day one, game one only has 18 packs. One thing that I'm definitely going to do, again, this is the very first time that I've done this kind of experiment, and if you guys want to go along with me, I thank you, because you're seeing that I'm making mistakes, rewinding, going this other way. So I had stated before that I was going to switch cards in and out. So maybe like I was planning, maybe I haven't mentioned in the video, I was planning to say take out all the Shadows of Innistrad, Eldritch Moon packs and substitute them for M19 packs. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to continue making the selection bigger and bigger and bigger until each player effectively has like 3 booster boxes worth of cards, maybe by the end of this year. At the pace that I usually buy cards with my Peasant's budget, I can actually get there. So again, limited selection, slow as could be. It does have some control, and I've even won a punching bag game with this deck because I countered somebody's Bitter Blossom. Of course, anybody who plays Bitter Blossom in Commander knows you only got 1 Bitter Blossom. You don't have 20. So I don't know, whatever. So I took out a bunch of a couple of heavy critters, put in cards that I have already mentioned before were not really on flavor, but they're low in the curve. And this is the final deck. And I'm not gonna go card by card, but you can pause it and check out the cards. I did not put it in TappedOut. If you leave me a comment and you want that, I'll do that as well. TappedOut does have the whole selection, all 4 players combined into one, all cards for day one, game one in one big cube. And I think when I add cards to it for day one, game two, I'm going to make a new cube with those cards, I think. I'm not sure. Again, I'm finding my way. This is the first time that I've done this. So I put Deputy of Acquittals back in the deck because he comes in earlier in the curve. I found a couple of times that all I got I kept drawing big critters and not enough small critters. And that's where I'm at. So if you compare back to the old deck that I had in the other video, there's a couple of 5 and 6 drops that are gone. I did get mana screwed, and that's why I took out the heavy critters. I wanted to have more 2 drops early game, and that annoyed me. If I drop mechanized production, it's wonderful. I can just keep making the same artifact. I love that card. It's a mythic rare for good reason. Here are some more weenie selections. Scroll Thief is an out and out super hit in this deck. It is not common for Isperia to drop, but now that I have more dual lands, and especially the Ravnica double 2-for-1 lands, like the Azorius Chancery right there in the middle, those lands make a huge difference in these decks. Another scenario where I was able to drop Isperia. Again, the deck flows a lot better now with even with a Peasant's mana base. It's better than no mana base at all, besides basic lands, which I used to have. That was terrible. Stratus Walk is a superstar in this deck. I first wanted to get rid of some of the heroic cards, but actually they make sense in the deck, and I have just enough enchantment auras to make heroic work somewhat. I don't have enough energy, but every now and then the energy cards will help each other. Every now and then. And again, this is the whole problem with energy being all in into energy, which I think is a consideration for anybody wanting to do a Commander's Masters and wanting to include energy as one of the strategies. I don't know. That's going to be tough. If anybody ever in the history of the universe wanted to do a sealed Commander build, like you do a sealed regular 40-card build at a pre-release, again, this experiment may not work out at all, but I love experiments. I'm going to go through it and take it all the way to the end. Right now, with half a box per player, you can build a bunch of Commander decks, and I'm doing that right here. Okay. So yeah, I mentioned Stratus Walk. I think I went backwards by mistake. Phalanx Leader is fantastic because when you enchant it, when you kick out the heroic, it puts out a token, a +1/+1 counter on every creature. That is a fantastic critter out of Theros. Here I'm just showing that the mana base is behaving a lot better now, and also I don't have as many heavy critters, so things are more fluid with this deck. Here I was able to use Populate and kick out another 2/2 Knight. So that was very nice. Here I've got an equipment that's giving flying and haste to my Cogwork Assembler, and I've already dropped Isperia, and the next turn, which I think would have been a turn 7 in a regular game. I think these games, these solitaire games, are 1 turn faster. So this is really like a turn 7. And in this case, I don't have any more creatures to drop. But again, it's solitaire. By now, I would have hit somebody with something from my non-creature spells. Jarad, way easier. Overrun is easy to love. It's in this deck. Comes out every now and then. I also took out some large critters that had improvised. I just didn't have. Some had improvised. I just didn't have enough low casting artifacts to make it improvise worth it. It's a beautiful deck. It plays really well. Very easy to play. Because Jarad only takes 4 mana. He's going to drop most games, and that's wonderful. The Herald of Torment, lower left, is great. He pings you for 1, but he's an easy 3/3/3 flyer. And you can use it as an enchantment as well. So it's a very versatile card. The deck could use a little more feed the graveyard kind of effects, such as Grapple in the Past, Top Row, and it just doesn't have enough of those. It does have second row left, Satyr Wayfinder. I think this deck would, I hope, as I add more packs, I do add more graveyard feeder cards, and at some point, this player hopefully will do another red green build, and we will see a better result. Of course, I'm playing Heidi Klum on Project Runway, so I can do whatever I want. Top row Forsaken Drifters. When it dies, puts 4 of my cards in the graveyard. So again, I need more of those cards so that when this deck hits the ground, it's just feeding the graveyard with critters. And when Jarad drops, because Jarad gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard, in these model games, and in this particular configuration of the deck, because I don't have enough to feed the graveyard, this dude is a 2/2 unless I enchant them with something else. And that's not what I want. I want this dude to hit the ground and be a 4/4 or a 5/5 by the time it comes out. And this deck is not right now allowing me to do that. Wildest Dreams bottom seems like a junk rare, but I've used it. It's fantastic in this deck. So here are examples of Solitaire play using Overrun. There's 16 power hitting right now in this one. Then here is a case where I was able to put a counter on Tormented Soul. And I've got Karametra's Acolyte. I've got some Devotion to Green. It's not much, but it's going to give me 4 mana right there. Or actually 5 mana. I miscounted. It says it on the card. Karametra always tells you how much she's going to give you. Yeah, the Kujar Seed Sculptor is a great card. It drops a counter on things when it enters. That is fantastic. Then, of course, the Daredevil vehicle is great because after it hits twice, you can you sack it and you draw 2 cards. I really like that card. Vehicles have totally grown on me. When they first came out, I just wasn't getting them. Now, I even want to build like a super mega vehicles commander deck someday. I'm not sure we have enough vehicles right now to do that, and I'm going to try it. It's in the back burner for me to try it. So here's an example of how the Daredevil can draw you cards. Fantastic card in my opinion. Then here's Wildest Dreams, where I pick out 2 cards out of the graveyard. I love this card. Pretty good. Foundry Hornet. It was going to give my opponent, again, this is a model game, nothing happens, -1, -1. If I've got a counter. And in this game, in this deck, even now, it's pretty easy for me to drop counters on things. Here's an example where I just didn't draw that second green mana. I just never did. So it does happen. Even with the better mana base, you still have a lot of basic lands. We'll see how that evolves. I may even throw in more dual lands into this selection as we progress. This is day 1, game 1, the very first round of games, of modeled games, and each player only has 18 packs, and each player only has a very small selection of dual lands to play in every game. Okay, and Nylea is giving everybody trample right here. So here's an example where Jarad dropped. Again, nothing in the graveyard, but I've got Overrun to play the next turn, and I've got Extort. So here, Pontiff of Blight dropped with Extort. That is fantastic. Every one of those every one of my black mana, I can use to ping my opponent for 1 and gain 1 life. Extort is really, really good. So yeah, Jarad or Jarad is easy to love. Niv-Mizzet is also easy to love. This deck is beautiful. It worked out great. It worked out great even in punching bag games. This thing where, and the mana in this deck is not so bad. Actually, for reasons that I don't understand, the Isperia deck, it's a little harder to drop Isperia even at the same casting cost. I don't understand it yet. Either way, I'm consistently able to drop Niv-Mizzet, and I think it's because I have some pretty good control in this deck. That's what I'm thinking. Either way, when Niv-Mizzet hits, if you got a blue and a red mana, you ping something for 1, that's really good, okay? Because when you deal damage, you draw a card. So you ping for 1, draw a card. And if you've got a lot of blue and white mana available after Niv drops, then you ping for 1, you draw your first card, and you say, okay, how do I use the leftover mana that I have? Okay, what I got is not good enough. Okay, boom, ping for another one. Let's see if I can. So you're constantly just going back for another card, and that's wonderful, really wonderful. So the deck plays out pretty well. It's got some aggressive red creatures. It's got some good aggressive boost spells like Titan Strength, bottom row. It's got reasonable mana. It's got some artifacts. Burnished Heart, middle row left, is great. Can help you stabilize with mana. I've used it. I think I may even have a screenshot in here. I almost took out Barricade Breaker, and I may, if I play this deck in Solitaire again, just to understand it. I have played a Stolen Identity, bottom left, and Cipher is not terrible in every single card that it's on, and this is one of them. I actually like this card. Okay, so here's a case of Stratus Walk being a superstar. There's also a Stratus Walk in the Isperia deck. Great card, draws you a card. What else can you say? So here's a screenshot of Burnished Heart stabilizing my mana. Right here, if you look at my mana base, I only have 1 island. So now Burnished Heart gave me the final island that I needed for 6 dropping Niv. So Burnished Heart in this specific model game was key, a key card. Then of course, like I was saying before, you ping with Niv, you draw a card. That's wonderful. It feels great. Drawing a card is always great in Magic. Then the Geist scries 1 every single turn. As a matter of fact, in this particular model game, I have Ether Theorist, third from left, and I still do have 1 energy. I just played this game, so I remember. And I could have paid the energy and scried 1. I didn't need to. The Geist scries every single time, every single upkeep. And so here I didn't keep this guy, and then next turn, right? So yeah, you see the mana that I have 4 mana. Now I have 5. So now I know I can drop Niv next turn. So here's Niv on the board. That's I finally drop him. That's great. Turn 5 Solitaire, which is equivalent to turn 6 in Real Commander. I do have enough artifacts so I can ping with Reckless Fireweaver. I really like this deck. This deck is solid for just a random bunch of packs. As a matter of fact, I think of the 4, this one is the one that I like the best. Borbo never dropped just because in this particular selection that player 4 has, there just aren't enough mana rocks and enough mana feeding things that can get you to 8 mana earlier than turn 8. And so forget it. And you're on red green. Now if Borbo ever dropped, it would be amazing. But it never has. On all the games that I've modeled with this deck, I have never dropped Borbo. I beat myself effectively because I'm fighting against myself in a model game. I have enough power from the cards. It's red green, so I'm very aggressive. I have enough power to get down to 0 well before Borbo ever drops. The game is over by turn 5 or 6, and Borbo's going to drop 8 because I don't have any mana boosting, really meaningful mana boosting in this deck. So again, just your typical red-green fare, and you can beat face. You can definitely beat face. You've got a lightning strike. You've got a larger than life. You've got a fighter burst. You can also burst with mana with Satyr Hedonist. You can do all your typical red-green tricks. It's got a couple of heavies, and that's fine. You don't ever actually need them in this deck. It's even got a Boon Satire or Satyr, Boon Satyr. So here are a couple of model games for this deck. Here I played a larger than life, and I've got a 3 critter and a 13 critter. Who needs Borbo to drop in this deck the way it's currently configured? again, just there's so many different ways to boost these critters in this deck that it just never happens. Here, I know next turn I can drop a larger than life. I just drop a Fighter Burst on Crossroads Consecrator, but I know next turn I can drop another big boost. And I did. So there you have it. Got a few artifacts in the deck. It's nice. In this case, what I'm showing is the Greenbelt Rampager. I should have taken more screenshots, but if you don't have enough energy, you can cast it, get your energy, put it back in your deck. So if you have enough green mana, you can just keep doing that until you get to cast it. It's a nice little trick for the Rampager. I like that critter. Then here, I used Borrow Hostility to boost Wily Bandar. Again, the deck just beats faced fast. Here, I used a Dynacharge with Overload, and then I hit with a Lightning Strike. So everything is boosted by 2. Hitting a lot of face. I have all of 4 mana and a Clue Stone, so Borbo is just never going to drop.